Fresh and
All right, welcome back to another episode of Fresh and Buds. I am your host, Tommy Fresh, and you are all my buds. And today, I'm joined by a bud. You all know him. You know him well. He hangs out in the Buds Discord. He dances at certain events with pillows, and he is just honestly one of my best friends at this point. It is Mr. Viz. You know him as Gary. You know him as Mr. Viz. You know him as the waifu visceri pillow guy. How you doing, buddy?
Listen, I had to hold in laughter that whole intro after you. That is a long list of things I'm ashamed of and proud of simultaneously. But yeah, man, it's great. I'm doing all right. It's coming back from a great weekend. An 8-hour car ride with you, so
I don't know how you survived it.
It was close.
Brutal. Driving through Virginia, which can we just eliminate that state? Maybe just get it out of here. People just like hang out in the left lane, bunch of creeps, just hanging out over there. But
I mean,
no.
Tom, at this point, this podcast hates every state except New Jersey.
That's
if you're 2 to 3 states away from New Jersey, you're the worst.
Yeah, I think the only state that I ever speak positively about that's not New Jersey is Maine, and it's like what can you do? What can you do? There's just like seafood up there, so like obviously I'm gonna like it. But no, actually, you know what? I will take back what I say about Virginia if Star City Games decides to sponsor the podcast. But until then, ball's in your court. But before we get to the episode, I do want to shout out the Patreon, which is in the link in the bio, which I guess the link tree in the bio. And you can check it out over there. We have the Romping Club membership, which is something new that we have introduced, which has a Patreon exclusive channel in the Discord where you kind of hang out with some other patrons, and it is really cool. You get a little membership card designed by producer Greg. Shout out Greg. Hi Greg.
Hey guys.
And it's cool. It's black and it has a really cool red writing and the outline of a romping club. And you also get access to Freshies, where you get to listen to me do some small 5-minute podcasts with some jazz music where I sound absolutely unhinged.
They're amazing.
You get to know the real me. If you can check it out, obviously not required or anything like that. It helps keep the mics hot and the lights on, and I appreciate it. But I do appreciate all of you regardless. And some other announcements here is, I'd been talking about the Fall Brawl in Columbus in October 22nd, the 10K, which has been upgraded to a battle hardened, hosted by Realm Games. Very excited. You should all go because there is going to be a sweet, awesome speakeasy after day one of that battle hardened where you can hang out, have drinks. It's 21 plus party. There's gonna be drafts and stuff like that. You can hang out with people like Dagan White and lose to him in draft the whole night. You are allowed to do that, and it is awesome. But you also get access to hanging out with a bunch of cool people. And I had a ticket to give away, and I'm going to announce it right now. It is going to Salty Sea Cat, aka Anthony. I'm going to read out the podcaster hero card that he designed. It is a mechanologist podcast hero, which, kind of makes sense, right? This is why I picked this one, because I'm dealing with all kinds of crazy equipment over here. And it is called BabbleBot 3000. So kind of like already feels a little Data Doll-ish.
Yep, that checks out.
The ability says pay 2 resources, interview hero, gain 1 silver. If no questions were answered, look at opponent's hand for generic 2 costs and play as an instant, go again. Pretty good, though. I asked pretty good questions, so I think I'm never going to get that bonus. So pretty cool. And it also has some flavor text, which we don't see a lot of in Flesh and Blood Heroes. Sultry voice on a hot mic. It's to die for by the Fresh Lord. Now, I'm the Fresh Lord. So It tickled me in all the right spots. So, Salty Sea Cat, you win. And I've already contacted you, and you already know this. But congratulations, and I'm excited to hang out with you in Columbus. Now, some other things I want to shout out is the Bud Rush Bellow, which is the new live podcast hosted by myself and Gary on the.
Oh shoot, that's true.
At this point, we will have had 2 episodes that air on Wednesday nights at 9:30 Eastern. I don't believe you'll be able to make it next week, Gary. So we'll have a special guest.
Yeah, next week I have something else.
But he'll be back. He'll be back hanging out, talking about Viscerai or whatever he does over there. But it's awesome. Check out if you're listening to this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, and you can make sure to get notified when those go live on Wednesday nights. It's a lot of fun, a little less guest focus, and a little bit more. Basically, Bud's having a silly time, and that's awesome. So
yeah, I can say I had a great time in episode 1. We talked about a lot of different things. I actually got the cheesesteak I brought up on episode 1 tonight for dinner. So, if you're curious about that, check it out.
Oh yeah. And it was tasty. Yeah. And you can watch / listen to these episodes on YouTube. They stay up. I kind of renamed them as like the date that they came out with like an episode number. One other thing before we start, shout out to Greg. We already did, but hi Greg. How you doing?
Hey Greg again.
What's up, guys? Long time no talk.
And now we welcome Gary, aka
Hey.
Mr. Viz. You, my friend, are a D1B, and if you don't know what that is, that's a day 1 bud.
An A1? Oh, day 1. Okay,
Day
got
1.
it.
You are also a mod in the Buds Discord, a cosplayer.
Well, yes.
And you are also the co-host of the Bud Rush Bellow. How did we meet, Gary?
Yeah, this is it's crazy how we met. So Tommy and I are both card gamers. We play cards. We like the riffle shuffle. I'm actually friends with Tom's sister's partner, boyfriend, ex-boyfriend. We met. We're friends. Something's going on there. We met at I think was it SCG Philly?
It was an SCG Philly.
SCG Philly, yeah. I just went to go, probably play standard or whatever I was doing at the time, and you were drafting. And yeah, we just kind of became buds, passive buds, honestly, just because the connection was very weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then started playing Flesh and Blood, and we just became the best of buds, talking all the time, and love hanging out with Tommy Fresh, so.
Yeah, it's interesting. So Gary has been with me through the best of times, the worst of times. A story that I haven't really told on the podcast is that at one point I was once DQ'd from a Magic GP for something I didn't do, but it was unfortunate. But though it has become a meme among the friends over there that I was DQ'd, because I think everybody I hope all my friends know that I have the integrity not to cheat. But I was DQ'd for peeking in a day 2 draft, which I wasn't doing. I was just nervous and looking around at all the judges walking around. But it was so funny because like me and Gary at the time weren't like close or anything like that, but we knew each other, and I'm like sitting there filling out my like appeal for the DQ, and Gary comes up and he's, "Oh, what's up?" And me and my cousin told him what happened, and he's like, "Oh man, that sucks. Hey, can you give this to Ben?" And I was like, "Yeah, dude, don't worry about it."
Yeah.
It was very funny. I mean, like in the end, I learned a valuable lesson that weekend is
don't look left.
Don't look left. And I was just grabbing the cards, and I think they thought I was a lot smarter than I was. But so I can accept that. But I think it really all started when I got I guess like during COVID, we were playing Among Us, right?
Yeah,
we played a lot of Among Us.
Yeah.
Back when that was a thing.
Yeah.
But I got to join like a Discord friend group of yours, which I was never really active on Discord until really Flesh and Blood kicked up. But this is how little I check Discord. My sister texted me. He's like, "Hey, check Gary's Discord. He's messaging you." And what were you messaging me about?
So I had bought my first packs of Flesh and Blood at Dark Depths Games in Philadelphia. Shout out Dark Depths Games, my favorite game store in the world. They had recently got Flesh and Blood cards in, and I'd watched the Rudy video where he opens Crucible of War, and I was like, oh, that looks pretty cool. That game looks pretty cool. I like the art. So I opened some packs, and in my first pack, I opened this crazy looking card. It didn't have like a cost or anything. It just had a blue strip at the top, and it said Legendary Viscerai specialization. It said if when you pitch it, create an arc. No, sorry, not create an Arcanite shard. Create a rune chant. And at the time, I had literally no idea what a rune chant was. I had no idea what the hell this card even was. And so I looked it up on TCG Player, and I found out this was like a $200 card at the time, and I was like, well, I guess I'm playing Flesh and Blood now, whatever this game is. So I posted the picture in my Discord. I was like, hey, Tom, look at this. And probably like sweat emoji, because I knew how much it was, but I didn't know really what it was. And I think you just were like, no fucking way. Or something like that. And yeah, and I immediately fell in love with the game, because the art is so nice. It's hard not to fall in love when you open a Fabled.
Sure. I wouldn't know, but
yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, no.
one day.
But yeah, and then once I found out that that the card could only be played in one hero, and that that hero was really bad at the time, some people would have run away, but I said no, and I immediately ran right into the arms of Viscerai Runeblood, and he's the best person in Flesh and Blood. Cyborg, magic cyborg. He's a zombie. I don't know, but he's the best.
He's a little bit of everything, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's he is an amalgamation of kind of everything dark in the game, right? You know, that was the first really dark character. You know, we saw like really like brutal art with like Rhinar and like Bravo, but nothing like spooky like
yeah. No, yeah, he's super spooky. Mauvrian Skies, Mordredtide, those cards look the same. The art is just ominous.
Yeah.
Dread Triptych, that card is spooky as hell.
Oh my god, yeah. I mean, like that card alone, I always want to play that card when I see it.
Yeah.
You know, obviously I love Leviathan, so everything I like in that is spooky and brutal and gross, right, and stuff like that. So I'm drawn to that kind of stuff, so I can understand, I can empathize.
It's also purple.
It is purple.
I mean, love purple.
We're big on the purple over here.
Yeah.
Now, you like desperately love Viscerai.
Yeah.
Here's a question. If you did not open the Arcanite shard and happen to have played the game anyway, right? Let's just say that. Would Viscerai be something you would have been drawn to the Dark Dimensions? Drawn to anyway?
That's a great question, because like so when it comes to Magic, I am very obsessed with characters. Like I like the specific characters that I like and that I have attachments to. My favorite character in all of Magic is Teferi. Because when I was getting back into Magic and Dominaria, I opened a couple Teferi Hero Dominarias, and I said, "Oh, this card looks really good. I like this guy." He and this was like really the renaissance of Teferi, and like, you know, and I fell in love, and I basically got all the fan service I wanted. And so I really get attached to the character, and I don't really know where my heart would be, because like Flesh and Blood has so many strong characters in the story. I know at the time it was before Tales of Aria came out. And the only experience I had was I bought the 6 packs, and I bought a Prism Blitz deck to learn how to play Prism, and I didn't really like Prism. I didn't really know what a Spectral Shield was. Like I didn't really understand what a Soul was.
Does anybody? Let's be real.
No, nobody. And as a Viscerai player, I don't really have a Soul, so
sure.
I can't really say whether or not I would choose Viscerai. I love making the opponent make decisions they don't want to. And I think ultimately Azalea does a really good job at that, because she has all these crazy on hits. And the next hero that I love, but beyond Viscerai, is actually Lexi, because I think she's a really nice mixed damage hero that plays control while also has a neat gimmick that I can get attached to. So I think like at the time of it, I probably would have gotten really attached to Lexi. Probably not as funny as liking a hero like Viserai. A little bit more questionable up to the level of how much I love the hero. But yeah, if I had to choose another hero, I think the timing of it worked out where basically Lexi would have been my number one, and a lot of my favorite cards that aren't Viserai cards happen to be Ranger stuff, because I really like the gimmick of using the arsenal, and I like the power of the arrow.
That makes sense, and kind of in line with Teferi. Not that I like to talk about Magic too much on the pod, but Teferi kind of makes the opponent's life a living nightmare, and Lexi can very much do the same. So I get that. And
well, Viserai is a living nightmare. So maybe that's how he why he fell right into my arms.
Now, okay, so here's a question about the Arknight Shard. Are you committed to playing that card in every Viserai deck that you build, or do you sometimes like say, you know what, I shouldn't play this card? But it's not that I think it's still quite good.
Yeah, so ever since Everfest came out, like before Everfest, I probably would have said I might cut the card sometimes. It's doesn't block. It's kind of sucks when you have this card and it's a blue, which is great, but like Runeblades are really bad without like 4 cards. So he's basically not. It's just a blue, right? But then they gave us Shrill of Skullform, and that card is amazing with Arknight Shard, because regardless of the game state, if you have a Shrill of Skullform and an Arknight Shard, it will be buffed. You'll be making an aura when you pitch to make the rune chant, and so that is a 2 card for 7 that is just really nuts. It's also just amazing with Mordred Tide. Like if you play a Mordred Tide and then you pitch to your gloves, you make 4 rune chants. It's nuts. Wow. So like the way that Arknight Shard interacts with stuff like Sonata and stuff like Tome of the Arknight, it does make it a liability. So more recently, I have actually put the shard in the sideboard. So any matchup where I'm not playing Sonata or Tome of the Arknight, it's in, because it's so good against like a control long game, because the incremental value is just so important.
Because in those control games, you're not going to be able to do the 5 card hand nonsense that you're always able to do, and then it slows down, and the 1 rune chant is a lot.
It's a lot, yeah.
And like you said with the Shrill,
yeah, especially when you really only need 1 blue to fuel your hand as a rune blade, it's probably one of the best blues you could ask for. And it just does everything Viserai wants to do. I wish that there were more Viserais I could play it in, because I mean, right now it's just tough because like I don't really want to play Blitz. Yeah. And so it's just like my favorite hero is kind of useless in half the game, and I know Prism players and Briar players. Well, not even Chain players. Well, actually, I can't even say Prism and Chain players, because both of those young heroes are seeing CC play.
I know.
So
something's going on. Something's wacky.
Going on. But yeah, I would say that for now it's going to be in every deck, but not in the main board. It will be in every sideboard for sure.
That makes sense. And I will say that you are a great deck builder, and you've had some great runs with the deck. Like ProQuest season, you got to the finals.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, didn't get there, but there's no doubt that you're a great pilot of the Viserai deck, and the ins and outs. So I took your deck to the Calling Indianapolis. And this is no shade towards you, but that's when I realized that wasn't the kind of deck that I like to play. And mostly is because of math.
Yeah.
The math, that kind of math is just not a math that I enjoy doing. Yeah. Like I enjoy kind of like counting my graveyard and see how many non-attacks are in it. That's
so gambling. You like gambling.
So gambling. Yeah. I like gambling. I can't help it. But So you are a great Viscerai player. Now, in chats with you, I know that you don't have the highest competitive aspirations, but that being said, are there any that could arise?
Yeah, so I think for me, the real thing that I like about Flesh and Blood is that there is a competitive option for people who want it, and there's a lot of seasonal opportunities to do that at a local level.
Sure.
And I really like to participate in those because they're not super high stakes. You're not wasting your whole weekend getting bummed out because you lost on, off a coin flip. In a calling environment, I don't thrive. I like to meet people. I like to go and play, side events because I like to just kind of just be a goober, honestly, at these events. But I think at a local level, I like to take it a bit more seriously than at a larger event, because I see those more as social gatherings in my mind. And I totally love that everybody who gets to do the calling and gets to do the nationals like we did at Charlotte this weekend. But for me, it really is about being close to home. And the people that I play with, the highest aspiration I think I have is really to play at something like the Battle Hardened Philly, because that's like one of the first big events that I got to play Viscerai at. And it's kind of, for some reason, Battle Hardened Philly has become this birthplace of new formats. So I don't know, there's something about the home team that makes me want to compete, but not enough for me to want to do like a whole 2-3 day tournament. If I win a pro quest, will I play in like a pro tour? Yeah, sure. I think that's a great opportunity, but I would probably just drop day one and just do the rest.
Sure.
I'd probably just do one of those, because ultimately when I go to those events, I just want to see people and spend time, honestly, just talking.
Yeah, that's totally fair. And everything in this game is about what you want to take from it. And luckily we have a lot of options. Now, the casual side is getting there, right? It is very much a competitive forward game, but it's hard for a game to be successful without a competitive scene. So
For sure.
we have to accept that. But it's also nice that you can go just do side events and try to win like a giant card, right?
Yeah,
Right. Or whatever the side event grinders do. But it's nice to have those options, and it's nice that you kind of recognize that, because I think a lot of folks, maybe that would be true for them, but they would feel the need to like really, really compete.
Yeah.
And to be able to kind of take a step back and realize that is actually a skill in a way.
Yeah, I did that a lot when I played Magic. Honestly, I tried to do the big events. I think the Grand Prix they're called. And for me, I didn't have as much fun. I just got tired. I got hungry. I'm just a baby, honestly. Could be what it is. And it was really interesting going into like the Pro Tour New Jersey. I was actually doing a bit of campaigning for people that weren't like qualified, because they didn't realize that they could just go to do side events. And that I did that a lot in other games tournaments, so I was just kind of assumed that there was going to be them, and people who hadn't played a lot of Magic before assumed that there weren't. And so definitely I like being an advocate for the side events, just because everybody has a place in this game, regardless of how you want to play, what you want to play. I think that this game lets you kind of be yourself in a lot of different ways that other games don't, and I find a lot of comfort in that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually even think it's very evident even in the content space so far, right? Still a very young game, but if you look at podcasts, right, there's like a podcast for everyone in this game within 2 years. Now, maybe that's just the world we live in, where everybody needs a podcast, but I think everybody's offering a little bit something different, and that's kind of cool. I enjoy it.
Those communities find each other very, very easily. I think what's really great about the Flesh and Blood community is that especially Twitter's the best. If you're not on Twitter, you got to get on Twitter. Flesh and Blood Twitter is the best Twitter, which is sounds like such an oxymoron, but it really is. Everyone has a place in this game, and I think that when you talk to somebody who knows about Flesh and Blood, like even passively, you can be a huge advocate for bringing somebody into the game, and just and helping them find their place, whatever they want to do. For some people, like I said, that's going to be playing in a side event and going and talking with people. For some people, they want to aspire to be the best Bolton player. For some people, they want to aspire to be the best Levia player.
Mhm.
Some people want to be the best, play the best deck every time, and they want to win and get that recognition, and that's great. It's just important to kind of market that opportunity. If you're trying to market the game, don't just market it as a competitive game unless you know that person wants to do that.
Yeah, and I think it's also worth noting that we've been so competitive focused the game,
Yeah.
right, in the first couple of years here. It's something worth considering with Dynasty coming out, and I think we've already seen a couple things from Dynasty, like Yoji,
Right.
the Crown, even the Emperor,
And
the
the
Command and
horn.
Conquer
Don't
guy,
forget the horn.
and the Horn. These are all very casual focused cards.
Yeah.
Do not be surprised to see a lot of that in this set. I think this is very much LSS's time to kind of say, sure, we're going to support heroes, right, with the supplemental set. However, we're going to support the casual scene, and we saw a decent amount of it in Everfest, and I think we're going to see it. I think that's what supplemental sets are going to serve a purpose. We're going to sprinkle in some like CC and Blitz staples, but on top of that, we're going to feed the casual player.
I do think with Everfest that they did put a lot of emphasis on items and generics,
Mm-hmm.
with the whole carnival theme. And I totally understand why people felt that the set fell flat for them in that way. And regardless of how you play the game, some of those items are actually pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And they might not be good now, but they will be good in a format that involves either multiple people or multiple things that you have to fight. So yeah, I think right now we just need to be a little bit patient because the game kind of grew a lot faster than I think LSS expected.
Exactly.
And like if the game was a quarter as large as it was maybe a year ago, and it was still like 2022 and Everfest came out, maybe there would be maybe people would want to be playing more Ultimate Pit Fight, or might not be as rushing to the next format, because there's such this huge competitive scene going on, such this huge demand that LSS is trying to meet.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, even if you look at other games a couple years into their life cycle, not everything was figured out, in those couple years, and LS is growing like this game is
Yeah.
and that's another reason, like even as frustrating as it is that we don't have like a schedule for events. I was talking to somebody, they made a great point. I don't think LSS expected to be running events this size so soon. That's a huge thing for a company to scale up to. So it's worth considering, I think is the biggest thing. Now we did see a second iteration of Bravo, which came from the first set, Welcome to Wraith.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that we're going to just get different iterations of heroes at this point. I want to know what your thoughts are on the possible next iteration of Viserai.
Oh my gosh. Well, I was thinking about this the other day, and a strict upgrade to him would just be add Shadow. That's all you need. If you add Shadow, Viserai is...
Give him Shadow Puppetry. I mean...
Just give him Shadow Puppetry. Give him Carrion Husk, R.I.P. Skeleta. If you just write Shadow at the bottom of the new Viserai, it would be an unreal hero. I think it would be probably the best hero, because you have a sick... Yeah, it would get so banned so fast because Runeblade has a lot of card options already.
Yeah.
Adding the talent Shadow with giving basically everything that Chain had to Viserai would be nuts. But the thing is, you could add he can't play cards out of the banish zone.
It'd be hard for him to banish anything, right? Because that's what Chain had, like a built-in banish mechanic.
Right. All you would really be doing by adding Shadow to him is giving him Shadow Puppetry, giving him Carrion Husk. All you'd be doing is really just extending his card pool and giving him a shot to deal a bit more damage while taking a bit more damage without needing to block. And that's kind of what Runeblade's like. I think it would be nice to have a Viserai that just says at the beginning of your turn, make a rune chant, because it would be really nice to be able to play like a control version of Viserai if you could do that. Runeblades aren't really known for playing super control, so I think it would be a really nice iteration. And if there was, if the issue is he makes too many rune chants, then that would be a lot less rune chants. But you could also maybe add shadow, and then you have all of the damage out, all of those extra cards with a lot less damage output of making an extra rune chant every time you're played a second card. It really allows you to do a lot less damage in a single turn.
Yeah.
You can't really go as wide because your Mordred Tide only makes rune chants when the cards you play make rune chants, which is a lot worse, but it allows you to play a very different strategy that Viserai is not currently open to. Something like Nebula Blade is not super usable in an aggro strategy because of all these good 2-cost cards like Shrill, because closing the chain with Rosetta is just insane. So closing the chain with a 4 that makes a rune chant on hit is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But if it costs 2, it really messes up the math of your hand. And so Tunic is great for that. Skeleton was great for that. But if you're making a rune chant every turn, and you maybe say you're blocking with 1 or 2 cards, and then you're pitching to play a non-attack and then attack with Nebula Blade, you're basically just a slower control deck. And even without Skeleton, you could still have a chance in some of those longer matchups. Play a bunch of blues. Vexing Malice is one of the best cards ever for leaking damage. Just closing out a game when someone doesn't have AB or AB only has AB1. So there's a lot of different ways you could actually build Viserai to make him a different hero. I don't want Viserai to be a better version of himself. I want him to be a different version, because currently we only have one version, and I know that's what most people have, but we used to have 2 different versions of Viserai. With the OTK option. And so that really amplified his capability as a hero to be interesting. There's a lot of ways to diversify the Arc Knight rather than just, making Starvo, because that's what people are afraid of the second time around. And so I think that if there was a way you could just turtle, and the OTK is just, you've literally been 30 turns, you playing Read the Runes, and that you could still OTK, but it's just different. I think people would really be open to that.
Yeah, well, I definitely want to, and I kind of like that idea of just like, make a rune chant every turn or whatever. I mean, that would be so simple that it probably will never get printed, but it would have to do something else.
That's why it's like add shadow or something.
Yeah. And it was make a rune chant every turn and a soul shackle. But I want to see like an opportunity to play like Rune Blood Barrier. I think that card's really cool. I think that's an awesome way to explore Rune Blade, like an opportunity to play Dread Scythe, which is such a cool card, but it's not playable. Yeah, I'm interested to see what the next iteration will be. I mean, it's probably not that close, because I don't think it's as close to LL as one would hope, but but then again, I guess Bravo.
Hold on a second here. Did I hear a little bit of hope from you?
No. I miss Bloodsheath Skeleton too, man. Don't worry about it. But
just wait till I got Carrion Husk on my team.
I mean, it's the best card in the game, so I wouldn't blame anyone to want to play with it. Now, I want to talk about your cosplay. We got to talk about your cosplay, my friend. Now, let's talk a little bit about where the pillow came from, the waifu pillow. A lot of people have seen it online. You could probably find it on Mr. Viz's Twitter at Mr. Viz. Where did the pillow come from?
Yeah, so we went to Pro Tour New Jersey, and we had our first Airbnb buds, which was a great time. Tom talked about it on the podcast right after Pro Tour New Jersey, and we went to some friends that were staying with us. Shout out to Seth, Caleb, John, Bailey, over there in California and Hawaii. Those West Coast buds and the East Coast of Hawaii bud. they were coming to stay with us, and they told me that they had a gift for me, and I was like, oh, whatever. Maybe it's just some playmat with their faces on it as like room chants or whatever, because Caleb has this playmat that has it's like some like dwarf from Lord of the Rings, but like has one of their friends' face on it. So I figured Seth was doing something really stupid, which would be really cool. So they show up and they didn't have the present for me. It's just, I was like, I don't care. I don't fucking, whatever happens, happens. It's just, it's a gift. So whenever they want to give it. And then we went to Walmart, like immediately as soon as after they showed up, said hi. I never met them before, except through Discord. Went to Walmart, and Caleb picks up a body pillow at Walmart. And I was like, oh, maybe he tried out the bed pillow. He didn't like it. Wanted to, spruce up his stay in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you going to get a pillowcase? When you just going to sleep on the pillow? He's like, yeah, no, I'm just going to like throw it out before I fly back. I'm not taking that back with me to Hawaii. Like, why would I do that? I was like, okay, whatever. Oblivious me. So we check out, we go back. We're all piled into the back of Tom's CRV with this pillow on our lap, just in the wrapper. Show up, get back home. They go upstairs. They're giggling. I don't know why they're giggling, but at the time I didn't know why they were giggling. They come downstairs, and they put a Viscerai pillowcase on that pillow. Just the art of Viscerai, it's like his whole body. If you haven't seen it and you're listening to this, you need to see it. It's amazing. It's not official merchandise, but it's officially my favorite merchandise. That's what I'm going to call it, because that's the only way to describe the feeling I felt when they came downstairs and showed me a giant waifu Viscerai pillow. Because I'll tell you, I don't have any like totems to any like here. I have like my Teferi play mats, but like I don't have like a Teferi miniature. I don't have like anything like that. But like when that was in my face, I was in love. I loved it. I loved the idea of just my favorite hero just on this pillow, because of what the idea of the pillow represents. That like I sleep with it. I think about it all the time. I can't go to sleep without him, which isn't far from the truth, but. So when that pillow showed up, I was so happy. I was shocked, so surprised.
Oh yeah, and we were like, "You have to bring it to the convention."
Yeah, I was like, I can't bring this. James White's gonna be there. Steve Argyle's gonna be there. Like, I can't bring this unofficial merch to Flesh and Blood event because I had just taken the level 1 judge test, and in the test it said you're not supposed to have official merch, and so I was like, oh God, I don't know if I'm supposed to, well, I don't know, like if I should do that or, I was anxious because I loved it, but I didn't want to lose it.
Yeah.
And so everybody in the house was like, you got to do it. You got to do it. You got to do it. I was like, fine, So we go to the convention hall, and I'm so embarrassed walking into this hall with this pillow, but like the first person who saw me loved it.
Yeah.
And I immediately was like, okay, I'm into this. This is great. Like I like that people get the joke and don't think that I'm bringing it because I need it. That was that was really like that. It's not like I need this pillow, so that's why I bring it to this event.
Yeah.
I'm glad that people recognize that I love the hero, and it's a great manifestation of my love for that hero. And so, yeah, it was a great time because like when you walk in, there's it's the New Jersey Convention Center in Secaucus. There's, you go through the doors or whatever. And then there was like the register table there. And I walk up, and the judge that was registering us just absolutely loved it. She's like, where'd you get this? Where'd you get this? Where'd you get this? I need this. Pointing to, I think her partner, also a Gentle Giant in the Discord, was running the event. And she said that, why didn't you get this for me? I need this pillow. Basically, like, I became a star, and I loved it because,
Oh yeah, you blew up on Reddit. Everyone was like loving it. It was like
the cosplayers wanted to take pictures with me, which was really great. I like what Olivia and but they played Prism and Dory during the first Pro Tour New Jersey. and they took a picture with me. I felt great. It was really, really reinvigorating that people loved it and wanted to ask me. Like, I must have talked to 100 people that day. And I eventually I did gain the courage to talk to Steve Argyle. And I'll tell you that I have never been more embarrassed in my life to go take unofficial merchandise
yeah.
to the artist who made the art. But actually, when I talked to somebody from LSS, and he said that he asked me if I had shown Steve yet, and I said no, I'm a little embarrassed, and he said no, he'll love it, he'll absolutely love it. And so I went up to I got the courage to go up and talk to Steve, and got him to sign some cards, but ultimately I needed him to sign this pillow. Because that's a permanent experience right there. So I'm waiting in line. He definitely didn't notice me in the line, because it was me and Bobby Z. I think maybe John Bailey was there too. And we get up to the counter, and the look on his face, he's like, dear God, I love that. He was so happy. He loved that and loved everything that represented, because it showed just people loving his art in a great way. And yeah, I asked, I was like, can you sign this pillow? And he said, absolutely. He broke out a Sharpie. He's like, which Sharpie do you want? And I said, because he didn't have on his list, he didn't have like signature cost to sign a giant waifu pillow of Viscerai. So he broke out the biggest Sharpie I've ever seen, and he signed it, and I loved it. And at the time, I had him sign a foil Nebula Blade and a few Icelanders, but I also actually had him sign a Rune Chant.
Oh, nice.
And one thing that I don't know if I've mentioned before. I don't think I mentioned it on the Butterspello, but no. I have, when I play with Viscerai, I use a pile of 40 Rune Chants. Like, it's just a giant stack. It's literally 40 double-sleeved foil, white border, or like first edition foil Rune Chants. They're all either foil or signed by people I've played against, people that I've made a trade with online. Because I really like the people that I interact with this game with, and I needed to have him sign one, because that's like, when I'm using Viscerai, I want to have a Rune Chant that has him signed it, but he wouldn't sign it because he said he never he doesn't sign other people's art. So Tom, what do you think I said when he said that?
I know, but I want I want you to tell the buds.
I said, well, just write not above it. And he said, what? And I said, yeah, just write not, and then sign it Steve Argyle. And he was like, I mean, I guess if that's what you want. So I paid $10 for him to sign not Steve Argyle. So that's probably my favorite Rune Chant. It's a first edition foil Rune Chant that he has signed, not Steve Argyle. So needless to say, I had a great time with talking to him. I'm glad he appreciated it. My fears went away when he loved it. So
I mean, it's great to hear that he's a good sport about it too. It's just like, oh God, it was a magical weekend. I think we could talk for like hours and hours and hours about how great Jersey was.
Yep.
And like how amazing everybody was. And like, that was very much the vibe in the room. Like, even you bringing the pillow, like, contributed to the vibe in the room. Like, oh, wow. Like, we all really love this game, and we like love these heroes. Maybe some more than others. But,
yeah.
But like, it was incredible. And I think that really was like a cherry on top of that weekend. And it was pretty incredible. But you did come to Charlotte this weekend with me. And there was a cosplay competition.
Yeah, there was.
And you did a cosplay. There is a video of this cosplay on my Twitter. You can check it out at First Buzz Pod if you want to check it out. And yeah, it's you. And it's what was your cosplay?
So my cosplay was Viscerai Fanboy, which is exactly what it sounds like. Except it's not like, not like cheerleader, not like I'm not wearing like an outfit where I'm like, a jersey, like it's a team. I was wearing a purple morph suit, and I was wearing like black joggers and a black pullover sweater that had arcane font all over it, and I had a black hat that had an embroidered rune chant on the top, and it has the bud in arcane on the left hand side.
Mm-hmm.
So it's my rune bud hat. But basically, I dressed up as a purple man wearing arcane font, and I danced to the first minute and a minute and a half of Holding Out to a Hero from Shrek 2. Specifically the Shrek 2 version because of the build of the song.
Sure.
If you're familiar with Shrek 2, it starts slow and ends real big. And that was a part of my whole performance.
It was memorable, and it was different. Nobody's doing that. And I've been saying this. I've been saying this for years, Gary. Nobody's doing that in the cosplay world.
When they asked me what my character was, they said Viserai, and they said no, Viserai fanboy. Accompanied by a 1 minute interpretive dance presentation.
Yeah. It's funny. I sent the video to Lady Fresh, and she's like, "Oh my god, that's so crazy! Did he win?" And I was like, "No,
no, I did not win.
He did not win at all." But
No.
It was so memorable. It was very cool, and I remember you kind of like telling me, it's like, "Oh, I'm gonna do this." I just like the build up to it.
Yeah.
Like you just had these ideas, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Is he gonna be able to pull this off?" Now, first of all, you know how to write the rune chant language, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
In more ways than one. But you on your shirt, you had the rune chant stuff. Now, what did the runes say?
The runes were the lyrics to the Holding Out for a Hero song that I was dancing to. I thought that was a really great thing to put on the shirt because it looks super cryptic. It looks super like you just look at it and it's just like purple like etchings in the shirt. So it kind of looks pretty cool. Like it looks like, oh, it's a cool whatever the fuck shirt that is. It's just like these guys got some arcane rune shit on his sweater. But then when you actually like know what it says, it's Holding Out for a Hero from Shrek 2, and I think that is just like, I don't know. I think that epitomizes what I love about like being such a big fan of Viserai, is that I want to take my love for Viserai, but also just make it a little bit of a meme,
Yeah.
But like, you got it. Yeah. Like, it's not that I really like just want to love every single thing about Viserai. It's taking that and like applying it to things that I love or think that's funny.
Yeah.
And then I like to amplify it that way.
The Arcanite. Amplify.
Yeah, amplify the Arcanite shard. Yeah.
It was awesome. It was very funny. You got like a lot of great laughs, and you can all check out the video on the Twitter verse. But it was very cool. And the cosplay competition, I want to do shout out Elaine, and I don't have the name of the null rune. Adam won the null rune. Yeah. He did the full set of null rune armor. Elaine did Sasha Sandakai. I do also want to shout out Emily Wang, who is staying with us, Philadelphia resident, who not only now, if you saw on Twitter, I had posted a picture of her Sonata for two or two hits on Sonata checklist tally marks, which she played. Got quite a few in day 1 and 2 of nationals. 9
total.
Yeah, very talented player, very talented Sonata player for sure. And she also did a Ira cosplay with this really, really awesome, very in-depth, in detail Edge of Autumn.
Yeah, the hilt of the sword where you hold it, she like hand stitched basically what you would expect like a real sword to have on it. Mm-hmm. She hand painted like the art from the card and like made the straps. Like it's very much Edge of Autumn that won't slice you open.
Yeah, and it was incredible. And unfortunately, she went first, which was a shame. And I think the judges just weren't really organized at the time, and she didn't really get a great time to like showcase it. And I do want to just take the moment because not only was it incredible, she's also an amazing person and she deserves all the credit in the world because not only was like she a great player throughout the weekend, did a great cosplay, but she was also the life of the party at the Airbnb.
Yeah, Emily is hilarious.
She's just like the funniest, like quiet person you've ever met. It's like just would sneak in these jokes that had the whole Airbnb dying, which was just an absolute joy. And I just wanted to, take a moment to really shout her out and give her, here at Fresh Buds, we recognize the hard work she put into it. And we love her.
Yeah,
and
our car ride partner too.
Oh yeah, she rode back in the back. Sometimes we forget she was there because she's back there playing Slay the Spire. You would look back and like, oh, is it going well? And she'd be like, yeah. And it's like which was great. But shout out Emily Wang, great person, great cosplayer, great player, and can't wait to hang out with her again. Now, Gary, it's time to get to the fresh faves. As you know, so I'm going to ask you some of your favorite cards. We're going to do 2 different versions with you because obviously you're very Viscerai focused.
Biased.
So we're going to start with a Viscerai fresh fave, so we can figure out your favorite versions of Viscerai. So obviously, favorite hero is Viscerai, right?
Oh, I was going to say Briar.
What's your favorite hero? Oh wow, Briar. That's a good one. That's a good one. I guess I should say young or old.
Old.
Favorite Viscerai weapon?
I specifically like the Rosetta Thorn altar that I have from Andromeda.
Mm-hmm.
I love Rosetta Thorn. I think it's one of the best weapons ever made, but it's green, so it doesn't really match. But I got an altar done by Andromeda, and it's all purple now. So I've got a purple Rosetta Thorn that has the lyrics to Smash Mouth's All Star, the first two lines in Arcane on it, as expected. So that's the Rosetta Thorn that I use, and that is my favorite Viscerai weapon, but because it's purple.
That makes sense. Unfortunately,
unfortunately, it does. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. I know the answer to this one. What is your favorite Viscerai equipment?
Oh, it's got to be Spellbound Creepers. It's got to be Spellbound Creepers. That card is the best. Along with Rosetta Thorn, Spellbound Creepers makes the opponent have to block Arcane, or else every turn I'm keeping this amazing equipment that lets me break the game. It blocks for 1, so it's basically just better Blade Break armor.
Mm-hmm.
So you play it even in mashups where you're not going to activate it. A lot of equipment that has Blade Break is good, but is not as impactful as something like Creepers. Like if you compare Creepers to Stormstriders, they do very similar things, but Stormstriders doesn't block, and Stormstriders does something once.
Yeah,
Creepers lets you do it all the time.
It seems like unfair.
It's very unfair. It lets you do things on your opponent's turn, and then you don't actually have to do like anything until your turn.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty known from the Tome of Fyendel play that Pablo did during the Pro Tour on Chain. Basically, you only need to deal the arcane damage by the end of your turn, but you can activate the ability if you've either blocked or attacked with an attack. So one fun thing to do is block with an attack and then play Sonata.
Yeah.
Which is nuts.
But
the arcane damage has to be dealt on your turn. So you still get to maybe draw a card, which is cool, and deal 1 arcane damage. But that can be a lethal blow.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that card single-handedly changes games, right?
Yeah.
It's also a very hard card for folks that aren't used to it to kind of decipher, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like they sit across, like, I know he can do things with this card, but I'm not going to figure them out. So he's just going to do them anyway. So
no, it does a lot of the things that the card Rattlebones lets you do. And I find Rattlebones to be one of the best cards in that deck. It's not my fresh fave because there's a better card, but I do want to shout out Rattlebones and Creepers, because if you have a Rattlebones in hand, you don't actually have to use Creepers. If you've dealt arcane damage, you could actually just do the same thing with Rattlebones.
Yeah.
Which is another reason why I like the Runeblade deck is because it does wacky stuff.
It certainly is wacky, I'll tell you that. Now, what is your favorite non-hero, non-weapon, non-equipment card? Your run-of-the-mill cards, attack actions, action cards, and instants.
Become the Arc Knight.
Why is that?
Become the Arc Knight is the best card ever. It is not only the best art ever, it has some of Caleb from the Buzz Discord. He's not a fan of it because it's a little bit off center, and I totally understand that, but he can pound sand because it's the best art ever. It so strongly represents Viserai just in the art, because Viserai doesn't have a right arm, and in the art you have Viserai as the older version on the right hand side, and the young version on the left hand side, like of his, like if he was facing you. Does that make sense? On the right side of the art is young Viserai, but that's his left arm. And on the left side of the art, but the right side of Viserai, he's reborn. So basically, the idea of the art is there's so much more to it than just, it's both Viserai's, you know? It's also a moment of him being basically dead and revived.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those amazing stories within a card art, while also being one of the most confusing and time-consuming cards ever in the Viserai deck, because it makes you it not only fixes your hand, but it makes you think about every card in your deck.
Yeah. I will say, from my experience, it got a lot easier when Swarming Gloomveil got printed.
It did. It got a lot easier and Everfast. That's for sure, because you could either get Revel or you could get Swarming Gloomveil.
Yeah.
But sometimes you need Rattle.
Yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes you need Mauvrion Skies. Sometimes you need Mortar Tide. So you have to think about the best moment, and that card is not only a blue that blocks for 3, which is what everybody wants in the world.
Sure.
It has the best art ever. I've got it as my background on my computer and in a playmat right behind me. But it makes the game, makes Viserai super playable by fixing those bad Runeblade hands.
Absolutely. And it's a non-attack to start off the turn.
Yep.
And here's a hot take. Next set the Viserai's in, it's going to have a card that said, became the Arc Knight.
Oh, not even a hot take.
Not even a hot take.
That boils my rune blood. I love it.
All right, let's move to some non-Vis stuff, because whatever. Vis is Vis.
Yeah, whatever. I know.
Who is your favorite non-Vis Viserai hero?
I alluded to it earlier. I'm pretty sure it's Lexi.
Yeah.
I think I played a lot of Tales of RA Draft because we played that format for a year, and I always forced Lexi every time.
Yeah.
I think that Ranger is basically one card away from one interesting equipment away that lets you fix the issue with arrows away from being insanely good and insanely good at controlling. She does have the same issue that Viserai and all the Runeblades have, where you're not able to have consistent hands because you either have hands that do nothing or hands that do a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, Lexi for sure. I love her ability. She basically lets you break the game a little bit with the go again. And she lets you lock down your opponent with the flip with the ice. So
it's a good answer. What is your favorite non-Viserai weapon?
This is not going to be a very interesting list because it's Voltaire.
Okay. All right.
Voltaire is actually the first cold foil weapon that I bought. I bought it in a trade with when I was building my collection. Voltaire cold foil. I've had it when I wanted to play Lexi in Blitz, and when I wanted to play Lexi outside of Viserai. And I think that it not only unlocks the power of Lexi to be a super explosive hero, but it gives Lexi a lot of variety. It gives her the ability to play 3 arrows a turn if there's already one in arsenal. It lets you, or it lets you just play bolt and shot without needing to use the go again. It's also beautiful art. Yeah. I don't know if the Battle Hardened Philly playmat had Voltaire, and the art is just absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
it really unlocks a lot of the damage output of Ranger that was really lacking before it existed.
I agree. I mean, I think that card's awesome. Though I will say I did play on Talishar against a Lexi that was playing Dreadbore, and that was very interesting.
Oh yeah,
Not so good. Not as good as the Voltaire stuff, but interesting
Mhm.
regardless. I looked at my defense reactions. I was like, oh, I can't use them,
Mhm.
which is interesting. Favorite equipment that's non-vis.
New Horizon.
For obvious reasons.
Yeah, so New Horizon is very similar to the reason why I like Voltaire. It has beautiful art.
Yep.
I love 2 Arsenal zones. The reason I like Creepers is because it breaks the game a little bit. And New Horizon, when I saw that New Horizon allowed you to have an additional Arsenal slot, every arrow got significantly better.
Yep.
I'm not the biggest fan of best in slot cards. Like if you have play this hero, you have to play this card. And that's it. It's not always the best choice. Honing Hood is actually super good.
Mm-hmm.
So you could play Honing Hood over it. And in that case, like New Horizon is strictly better in most matchups and it blocks.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that it lets me use 2 Arsenal zones and I have play mats with 2 Arsenal zones, I like the flavor of that.
Yeah, it's awesome. It definitely made people think Azalea was going to be good. Then it wasn't necessarily playable there.
No Voltaire to save the day.
That's it. And your favorite run-of-the-mill card, non-hero, non-weapon, non-equipment?
Well, I can see if I don't like purple, I like Elemental Ranger elemental cards, and it's going to be Electrify or Polar Blast. I couldn't decide between the two because I really like what Electrify and Polar Blast do. If for some reason when I play an Electrify or a Polar Blast, like when I was drafting Tales of Aria, I took those cards so early. Like, doesn't matter what the pack had. When I was forcing Lexi, obviously, I took those so early because the card advantage that those cards provide you in draft is insurmountable sometimes. With Lexi in draft, you had Overflex, and you can arsenal a card with reload, and you can reload the Electrify to be able to flip it and activate the Lexi ability to be able to play it and draw a card.
Mm-hmm.
The being able to reload those cards makes them infinitely better than just like if they were a normal card. So I think taking the context away from just it being an ice card, I think Polar Blast edges Electrify out just because of the interaction with Icelander and the fact that you can play the Polar Blast on your opponent's turn to draw a card for 1 is kind of great. So I probably would pick Polar Blast on that list.
I mean, those cards, that whole cycle is so cool.
Yeah. So tomorrow too.
I think I'm a big fan of that, and that's an acceptable answer, Gary.
Thank you for approving my list of Ice Lexi cards that are not Right cards.
But thank you for answering all that. Now we do have a listener question that kind of came in here a little bit in the midnight hour. It's from Remy on in the Buzz Discord, aka Jeremy. Great dude. I got to get Korean hot dogs with him in Fort Lee, New Jersey, which was awesome. Just an awesome bud. Brings the BBE all the time, aka Big Bud's Energy for any newcomers. He asks, who do you think is the least recognized hero as of today? Not the worst in terms of tourney performance, not even necessarily the least played, just the least notable hero at the moment. Maybe the one that people rarely even mention. And then why is that? And he goes on to say, did LSS design them underpowered or give them a stale or situational ability? Have they been replaced by a similar hero that is strictly better prior to retirement? And he adds, find out next time on Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, this is a good question because, I mean, if you had to say, like, what is the least, powerful hero, I'd probably say Levia.
Wow, really? You think so?
No. I'm just
Azalea's got to be.
Yeah, no. I was just messing with you, but yeah, we were talking before. Maybe Cavadan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with Genis coming out. Yeah, with Genis coming out, Genis the young hero. he kind of overshadows everything Cavadan likes to do, which is kind of tied into the part about overshadowing what the hero likes to do. I think Bolton is also a fair call. Bolton has some OTK stuff. Bolton has, what are we going to do with our library now?
Yeah. Bolton's also like inherently underpowered outside the OTK plan, which is very unfortunate for the hero. Like Viserai, I don't think would be as interesting if he can only do the OTK plan, right?
Yeah.
And it's like it's better for him that they, like, I don't want to say that like it's good that your favorite Bloodsheath Skeleton, even though you didn't say it was your favorite, even though it did get suspended, the regular plan is fine, but the Bolton OTK nonsense is the only viable thing, and like that's just not everybody's jam.
There's Raiden Bolton,
which is just doing Runeblade things poorly, which is it's just tough charging the soul, etc. It's just inherently not good overall.
Yeah, honestly, and I think a lot of his ability ties into the fact that it forces you to want the opponent to block.
Yeah.
Like Warrior's whole deal is that blocking is bad, but we want you to block.
Yeah.
Because if you don't block, my Dawnblade gets big. Or if you don't block, you draw a card, right? Was that Bolt of Courage?
Yeah, I think it's Bolt of Courage.
Yeah. If you, all I know is you draw one card one time to that, and then and then you won the game. The idea of Warrior to me seems like, okay, don't block, and then punishing you, but then punishing you when you do is not as impactful if you're not doing stuff like attack reacts like Dore does.
Sure.
And Bolton's attack reaction is to give it go again, right? So
yeah, and he's like doing non-weapon things a lot of the time. It's interesting. I think it's a shame too, and I really love Bolton. I would say Bolton could possibly be my second favorite hero. Right? I really love Monarch. I think it was a great set, and I love Raiden. It's one of my favorite weapons. So like Bolton is like it's like probably my second favorite hero. And it's tough. It's tough because like there's like the OTK, the Sabres people out there, but that's it. Like like we were talking earlier, Azalea has the Azalea cult, the Levia has the League of Levia in terms of like these like not so viable heroes. And I think that it's just a shame because like Bolton's really cool, and he's the only hero that's a person of color too, which is really cool. And I just hope that we get a little bit more support for him, or even like a new version of him, because I think he's just like flavor wise even really cool. Just this kind of badass like warrior for good. Like Dorinthia just has like the I'm a warrior and like I'm into valor.
She's more of a fencer, honestly. Yeah. She's a valor fencer that wants to just poke you a bunch of times.
Yeah, but Bolton's kind of like I'm like a leader and like I care about the light and stuff like that, which is and
counterintuitive to what I like.
Counterintuitive to what you like, but like an important thing. Like Prism didn't feel like a leader of the light, and Bolton does, if that makes sense from like a lore standpoint. But that's a great question, Remy. And I would say Bolton. I think we could both land on Bolton for CC and Cavadan for like
because of Genis for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I want to say like before we wrap up, I do want to talk a little bit about the weekend, and I want to say also like you, Gary, along with some of the other OG buds that we've mentioned, such as like Seth and Caleb and JB and Capolo and folks like that. The Buds Discord would not be where it is today. And I always try to stress how great the Discord is there. Just like people hanging out, people talking. It's never too serious, never too It's like it's safe. I think I would say it's a pretty safe place for people to hang out and at
all hours of the day.
All hours today. Shout out Sigma, love you. Love you.
Hawaii, we got Hawaii, we got the West Coast. Yeah.
And I think that the Buds Discord has become something special and something that's even interesting to me, right? As like it started as like, oh, this is the Discord for the podcast, but it's become something a little bit more than that, right? We have folks in there that like I don't even know the podcast exists, which is kind of funny to me.
Wait,
Like,
there's a podcast?
yeah. Like, oh, why do I keep getting pinged by this dude who runs this Discord? But I wanted to ask you what you thought like was so like what about the Buzz Discord was so special, and like how has it kind of like at this point, case in point with the Airbnb Buds twice now. We've had two Airbnb
Back
Buds
to back.
experience. Yeah, back to back. How is it extended into the living realm?
I think that it comes from the idea that the Buds Discord is that we're all either here to listen to the podcast, but we're not like, sorry, Tommy, we're not idolizing you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No. And I don't want that.
Yeah, yeah. If anything, it became like it's a safe space in that like whatever idea you have, just like we're gonna talk about it.
Mhm.
Like if you want to try something wild with Levia, if you want to put tomes in it, if you want to put remembrance in it,
I do.
we can talk about it. We've got a tea room now, which is full of Love Island and Real Housewives and just like crazy stuff that's happening on social media, just outside of the card game world. I think ultimately, like what really powers that is that we care about the people and the lives that they have outside of the game. The food is a huge part of the Discord. Capolo is posting in there every single day, and when he's in Switzerland right now, like basically it feels like we're appreciating people that want to talk about Flesh and Blood, but also just want to talk about what's going on.
Yeah.
And that's such a great spot for me because I just like talking to people.
Absolutely, and I enjoy, and like you just said, like talking about what's just going on. Like I think we've had a few instances of people just kind of talking about what's going on in their life and like how that might be difficult. And I think everybody's very understanding, and that's like brings the BBE
Absolutely.
as it were. But I think that's really cool and makes me happy because that's what I had always missed, right? Like in other communities, right? I didn't have like a spot to like chill. Like I would be in some discords for some other games. It would be like, oh, like I would read some stuff, maybe interact with like one or two things, but it never felt like, oh, like I'm welcome here or anything like that. And I think that personally, I think we do a pretty good job of making people feel welcome. Just everybody in general, all the buds. And I think it's really cool. And I think like Airbnb Buds, right? So I say Airbnb Buds is Airbnb with a bunch of buds.
Yes,
in case anybody didn't figure that one out. Pro Tour New Jersey was the first one, right? It was a ton of great people. It was myself, it was you, it was Caleb and Seth, it was JB, Kugani, Capolo, Bobby Z. Brew Type Cast, Russ, of course. And it was just a great hang.
Yeah.
And like it was my first time like really like hanging out with online people I met with online. But like after the initial couple minutes of being like getting used to people's faces. Right.
Yeah.
Like I looked at Bobby Z and like Bobby Z did not look like what I thought he would look like at all. I was like,
me either.
I was like, who are you, Bobby? And like, but like after that initial like 5 minutes, like figuring out everything, we were all like laughing and having a great time.
Might have been because of the body pillow, but
the body pillow helped for sure.
Yeah.
But like, even like just going to Walmart to grab that body pillow was like an experience. And it was a ton of fun. And like, even like when Capolo first just walked in, he just like looked at me and said, "Dummy," and just like bear hugged me. I was like, this is awesome. Like I was like so ecstatic about it. And I felt like, oh my God, this is like true buds. Right.
Yeah.
And I had wondered personally if that could be replicated. Right. With a different group. Right. Cause like, obviously those are not the only buds. There's a ton of different buds.
Oh,
Now,
so many buds.
this past weekend, we did Charlotte. We did another Airbnb Buds. Now, this Airbnb Buds included me, myself, and you, Logan Peterson from last week's episode from Flesh and Pod, Mo Bogsley, who you might know from the guy who tried to talk about ranch and I bleeped them out on the podcast, Andromeda and Rabbit, who are partners together, and they hang out in the Buds all the time. They're great folks over there. Dagan White, former top
MetaZoo.
US MetaZoo band guy, Scott, Emily Wang, who we already mentioned, and Chris, all Philadelphia players or South Jersey kind of area players, and they were, not necessarily buds in the sense of like the Discord, but by the end of the weekend, everybody was a bud, and
yeah.
I was so relieved to see that everybody was just enjoying hanging out in the Airbnb Buds, and just having a good time. Like Emily, as we said, was slinging jokes like nobody's business. And even when she first got there, you weren't even there, Gary. And Logan goes, so what are you playing in Nationals? She's like, I'm being toxic. I'm playing Briar. And like me, Logan, and Dagan like all just burst out laughing. Like, what is going on? So it was like so cool to kind of see it replicated in a way. It was a different kind of replication, and like maybe not as close knit as that original OG Airbnb Buds, but it felt almost more like the Discord in a way. Like, oh, we're all kind of different people, come from different walks of life, and
learning about each other.
Yeah, we learned a lot about each other, and I just wanted to take a moment to kind of talk about our weekends, and I wanted to give you the floor. Obviously, we already talked about the cosplay contest, but because it was a lot of people, and we only had 2 cars, so it wasn't a lot of like sometimes every day we had to like kind of split 5 and 5. So
we're like rolling the dice. Who's gonna leave now? Who's gonna leave later? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So just take a moment, and I'll talk about my weekend, even like playing and stuff like that. But
so I couldn't make it for Friday. I had started grad classes again, and I couldn't really make. I wanted to come for the whole 3-day thing. I didn't qualify for Nats, so I didn't feel really obligated to go the whole weekend. So I flew out Friday night, had some airport bojangles, waited for Scott. We Ubered in from the airport together. And I think you, Logan, Dagan, and Mo were out hanging out somewhere that night.
Yes. Well, that was the night we went to World of Beer just to grab some food after day 1.
Yeah. I think I knew everybody there because we'd met a Rabbit and Andromeda at Pro Tour New Jersey, and I knew Chris, Emily, and obviously Scott, who were local to me. So I was just saying hi to my friends, basically, and just checking in. And then nobody had seen the cosplay before, so I was like, I'll try it on, give some people a preview. So I put the cosplay on real quick, and did some jokes, and then and then you guys all walked in. And I had never met Logan. I may have met Logan at Pro Tour New Jersey, but
probably just briefly when we were drafting the cube.
Definitely with the body pillow for sure.
Yeah.
But so he knew I was crazy already. But Mo Bogsley, and Dagan White. I just I'm in costume, just like, hey, how's it going, man? Nice to meet you. I'm Gary. Nice to meet you. I'm Gary. Just in this full purple morph suit, starting off the Buds energy strong. And we just kind of hung out. We played a lot of Flesh and Blood. I did a lot of trading, ate some Bojangles, which I haven't had in a while. It's kind of okay. I don't want to offend North Carolina, but it's just fine.
Right.
It's in the convention center. Yeah, I mean, it was nice to see everybody. Got to see my buddy Zeus Hamal Patel, who I talk to all the time, buy all my cards from. Just a nice round 2 of just going to a big event and being a goofball, which was really great about New Jersey. And then we went to freaking Chili's Saturday night with Andromeda, Rabbit, and Mo because nothing else was open. And so we were just like, where are we gonna go? And so we went to a Chili's and just hung out, and it was great. Just it was a different group every time too, right?
Yeah.
And by Sunday, I was feeling a little done. I wasn't doing the main event. I was playing Visterai, but the way Visterai works is you play a game for 30 minutes and then you wait 40 minutes for Olden players. So I'm getting a little tired of that rhythm. And Chris and Emily were kind of done with after nationals. So I, pieced out a little early, and we wandered around Charlotte a little bit. Emily and Chris Ubered in to the city, went to there's a art festival going on. Checked out a museum, got a little souvenir for my partner, got a hat because I like to collect hats. And got some soul food, some Carolina barbecue. That was great. We just kind of hung out after that, just the night and the Sunday night before. Emily played Slay the Spire for the first time.
I don't think she'll ever stop.
I don't think she'll ever stop. So yeah, we put it on the TV and we watched her basically finish her third run. I got to the heart, which if you've played Slay the Spire, that's super difficult to do. It was just amazing. Dagan's and me were losing our minds at just watching her play this game. And you and Scott had never played it before, didn't really know, right? You never played Slay the Spire. So you're just like, what the frick is going on? Why are these guys oh, she's blocking. Oh, she's blocking. We're just like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my God. Yeah. And then we went to bed way too late to wake up super early. And then we drove for 8 hours.
Yeah. That's what it was. I will say it was I really enjoyed, I've seen you giddy before, right?
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed watching Dagan White, who I just met that weekend, kind of get really giddy watching Emily play Slay the Spire. I thought it was really sweet. It was touching in a way. I was like, this is nice. And because Dagan's not, and shout out Dagan if you're listening, and we know you are. Maybe you aren't. It was actually great meeting Dagan and kind of almost even just chatting with him and kind of getting into the mind. He's an insanely good Flesh and Blood player, card game player in general. Maybe a better MetaZoo player than Flesh and Blood, but not anymore. Shout out to the Zookeeper, but he's. It was really interesting getting to chat with him and kind of even talk, kind of see how someone like that thinks about the game. And he's also somewhat of a hermit, and he's even said that multiple times. I'm a hermit, don't really test with anybody, but he kind of
came out of his shell for sure. Yeah.
Came out of his shell and came out of the weekend. I saw him tweet. He's oh, might want to start playing with people and to learn to play this game, which was really cool. And I think he even said something oh, I had never really enjoyed hanging out with people at card game things before, and that was kind of cool. And I thought it was a testament to the buds, honestly.
Absolutely.
Not to brag, but yeah. No, my weekend was I played nationals, and I actually right before we recorded this, I was on the combat chain with Pat and Adam, chatting about the play. And I would actually encourage you all to go check that out. But I kind of went a little bit into depth, how I played. Ended up 3-4 in the nationals, which was 1 win away from getting to day 2, and then 4-3 in the calling, which is 1 win away from getting to day 2.
Oh my gosh!
But played Levia, and I did have a lot of fun, and I actually did not feel burnt out on the game at all. Even though it didn't really go my way. I mean, even when we were driving back, Gary, I was thinking about things to do to the deck, which was, I think, good. And my big takeaway from the weekend, playing wise, was I was competitive at a level that was, I guess, the US Nats close to the professional level event. I competed somewhat at that level, and if I work on it and kind of hit the ground running in 2023, I think that maybe I can do something, and that would be a lot of fun to me.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun, and got to talk to a lot of different people. Very excited. I was very happy with the outcome of US Nats. It was great to see Michael Hamilton win another one. Just nobody's playing the game
list.
The list was so cool.
And Rose was there too.
Rose, yeah. Shout out to Rose and Jasper, and Rose just day
Oh
two
my God.
calling with a wild Icelander deck.
Basically the Michael Hamilton list without talking to Michael Hamilton.
Yeah, exactly. And Rose has been on that for a while.
Yeah.
Even before Icelander was even a
An adult hero.
So, which is that's just Rose being Rose. But and also I just want to shout out Daniel Rakowski, who's a local bud of mine who got to the finals of the US Nats against Michael Hamilton. He was on a really sweet FI list, which was really cool to see. Daniel's a great guy and an excellent player. He's playing some great Flesh and Blood right now. But outside of that, got to hang out a little bit with Flake, got to hang out with Pat a lot. Pat, if you're listening, he's like become one of my best friends in this game. Just we're very much kindred spirits in the fact that we both missed day 2 on everything we play.
Oh.
But also he's just a great dude and awesome to talk to. And and then obviously Flake's amazing. Got to hang out with Keith from Realm Games, who's just a kind person, and got to spend a lot of time with Logan and Dagan. And I did make the joke when I first started talking to both of them when we got there that this is going to be my Oprah Uma moment, which is a very, very old reference to David Letterman on the Oscars, who just decided to make a joke that Oprah and Uma sounded like the same name, but it's not even really that close at all. So I was like, oh, Logan and Dagan, this is my Oprah Uma moment. But that's just me bringing up weird Oscars trivia.
Okay.
But it was a good weekend. Got to hang out with a lot of cool people. Shout out to Mara, Blackwing Studio.
Mara
obviously
played one of the best games.
Mara played some great Flesh and Blood. She got to hang out, and that was a lot of fun. And I'm sure I'm missing some folks. Shout out to Luke, who got to play the Team Seal with me and Pat. And Luke was awesome. Luke listens to the show. And shout out Elaine. Got to shout out Elaine and just all the wonderful people in this game who just
shout out Ethan going back to Levy.
Ethan Van Sant. I mean, like, I love that dude. He is. It was so funny. He came to me like I at the end of day 1 of the Nationals. I was not making it. Ethan could have played day 2, but he dropped for the calling. He was 4-3. He went 0-3 in the draft and then went 4-0 with Phi in CC. And he was like, it's funny how I went 4-0 in CC with this deck and I never want to play it again. And I've gone 0-4 with Levia before, and I'm ready to play the next tournament with her. And I was like, that makes total sense to me. So, And Ethan's just a sweet guy. Love him. Hoping he might be coming back on the podcast soon. Get some spooky stuff going on for October. But yeah, that was the weekend. I think overall a success, just in terms of enjoyment, right? Maybe not the results that I wanted, but I think we all had a great time.
Absolutely.
And it was good to spend time with each other. But before we go, I do want to shout out Fino Black.
Oh my gosh! Okay, this is nuts.
Fino Black, and I'm saying this right now. Fino Black is the official Mr. Viz simp. He just randomly tweeted that. Like and tagged Gary here that he needs to up his game with simping for a hero because he's losing right now.
He's losing. And he just started getting shown up.
He's getting shown up. And how does that make you feel, Gary? I want to know how it makes you, because Fino Black is without a doubt a great player.
Yeah, honestly, because Fino Black is such a great player and I am such a filthy casual, the duality of it is just so funny. Some have called me the poorly skilled Fino Black. So, but yeah, I'm honored to be recognized completely randomly. Like I said, I've never talked to Fino Black before, but I know he loves Prism. I know that's his favorite favorite hero, and he'll do anything for Prism, including forgetting about a tunic counter to prevent the LL. So I know the dedication is truly there, but he's not going to be the alpha simp. He can't be the alpha simp. He's going to need to up. He's got a lot of catching up to do. I know. I respect it. I respect the game, but I'm here to win that one. That's for sure.
Well, good luck, Fino, if you're listening, and we know you are. Good. You know what? Just you got to start upping that simp game. And,
your simp metrics are really starting to waver.
Yeah. But that's going to do for the show. This has been wonderful, as always. And I'm glad everybody decided to hang out with us. Gary, I would like for you to plug anything you'd like to plug.
Yeah, I don't do much other than play video games and talk about Flesh and Blood and maybe write an arcane script sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, if you want to follow me on Twitter at Mr. Viz, Mr. spelled out and then VIZ. That's where I hang out. If you want to talk about body pillows, I'm not super informed about the body pillows, but I love Viscerai. So I could talk about Viscerai all day. If you want to learn the arcane language, I love chatting about it. I love chatting about writing it and learning it. But ultimately, you should join the Buzz Discord.
Yes.
Like that's the number one thing. If you want to hang out and talk to me, because you're really going to have a good time. If you're feeling like you don't have a place right now, the Buzz is the place for you for sure.
And I cannot agree with that sentiment more. But do follow Mr. Viz on Twitter because, you might see some interesting Pheno Black interactions over there. Whatever's going on between you two, I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
But you'll find out, and you don't want to
know. I hear you're going to be posting some DMs now. It's going to be like the Adam.
Oh fuck!
That's going to be a meme.
Oh, no.
But yeah, as always, you can find me on Twitter at FreshBudsPod. Please subscribe, like, comment on the YouTube. If you listen on like Spotify or iTunes or Google, like rate or leave a review, that really helps.
You're 5 stars in my book.
Thank you. And join the Buds Discord because that is a great place to hang out. And we got a lot of wonderful people there that we all care about each other. And that's cool. It's cool to me. I hope it's cool to all of you. And as you know, Gary, we always like to talk a little bit about food at the end of every episode. What's your top 5 chips/dips? Because I know you're a big chips and dips guy.
My top 5 chips/dips, like,
or maybe just top 5 chips, and then like your favorite dip.
Well, when I thought about the food section, I immediately was going to think about slushies.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, you're a big slushy guy.
But I think
the
chips
Sultan
and
of slush.
The Sultan, as many have called me, the Sultan of slush. But yeah, so as far as chips and dips go, in my family, you always end the night with a snack, and so every day, maybe not every day, like maybe 5 days out of the week, I've got some tortilla chips and dip. I like, one of my favorite things to do is just get the can of Fritos, the Frito bean dip. I know it sounds weird, but that's just, it's so good. It's a little spicy. It's a good portion. I usually do it, finish one of those in like 2 nights. Probably more than I should, but that's, yeah. And I also like to make a good chili bean dip. So what I do is my partner's pescatarian, so I will make like almost like a Frito pie, but like just the dip.
Gotcha.
So what you do is you just take, I use Impossible meat, but you can take the Impossible meat, you take some beans, usually black beans, fry up some onions, just a bunch of enchilada sauce. It's more of like a salsa chili than more of like a tomato soupy chili. And yeah, I'll put in some Mexican cheese, and make it good. I like to do that. I like to just refried beans. Refried beans is just some of the best things too. Just refried beans with some cream cheese, peppers and onions, mozzarella cheese, Mexican blend cheese. And no, it's just like
So
that
many-
bag. I always have like 1 or 2 bags of those in my fridge.
Two things that I want to point out right now. First of all, let's just quote you. Just make it good. That's just like, God. I mean, you should just have a show on Food Network.
Just
Just
call
make it
it
good.
Make it good.
And then also, can we just say, as you are a Philadelphia resident,
Yeah.
I mean, Philadelphia is way ahead of the rest of the world in terms of making cream cheese because
Oh, yeah.
I can't think of another brand.
Store brand. It's
It's
Philadelphia and store brand.
Yeah. It's a goddamn monopoly. We got to break these trusts up.
Yeah. The big cream cheese needs to go.
Big CC.
Oh.
Now that all sounds amazing, and I'm probably gonna do that snack thing tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's very late. I've got to get up super early, so
Yeah,
but I've already had some snacks.
you pre-gamed. You
I
pre-gamed the
pre-gamed.
pod.
Yeah, I pre-gamed. So I'm good, but yeah. Yeah. Also, shout out to Tostitos Cantina style chips for the tortilla chips and the Frito scoops for the structure.
Oh, Frito. Oh yeah, Frito scoops, best structure in the game. If you
Best structure in the game for sure.
all right. I feel like I feel like Pat Shaw over here. We're just off the rails right now. But I think that's gonna do it for the show. Everybody, thank you for listening. Thank you, Gary, for coming on. And everybody, please have a good week. We love feet
Love
here.
heels.